What's going on, guys? I just realized I don't have Brad in here. Brad, what's up, man?
What's happening, Brooks?
Buenos dias. Good morning.
Que buenos días.
¡Oh! Habla español.
Sí, hablo español porque tengo una esposa colombiana.
No, hablo solamente un poquito español.
Oh, okay. Está bien. Podemos
Dude.
practicar si quieres.
Oh my goodness. Okay, now just learn something new we're gonna do. We're gonna practice. I'm gonna practice my Spanish with you, man. That's awesome.
And if we don't practice Spanish, we can always practice Nacho Libre, which is a close second.
Nacho
Get a
Libre.
taste of the glory. See what
Oh
it
my
tastes
gosh.
like.
Oh, that's so good, man. That's so good. So good morning. So first of all, you're Brad. I'm Brooks. We met at FinCon.
Yes.
Was that like 2 weeks ago? 1 week ago? 2 weeks ago?
It's been 2 weeks ago already. It's just like
time
like
is
a
flying,
blur.
man.
Yeah, it really
Time
is.
is flying. So if you guys are going to be tuning in, this is going to be Money Chats. We're going to talk. We're just going to talk money, side hustles. The last time we hopped on a vid call, we just kind of got to know each other a little bit, and I was like, man, this is fun. We just need to do this live. So we're literally going to do the same thing in front of anyone that wants to watch. Anyone can pitch in and comment if you so choose, if you so want to. There's no pressure whatsoever to do that. But if you want to, feel free to join in. So
literally thousands of other people right now.
That's it. Don't stay quiet. Don't stay quiet, guys. Don't
be
quiet.
shy.
All right, so I'm gonna play this little clip, man, that I made for us to have
Sweet.
a chat, and then we'll talk, man.
I love it. Brilliant.
What do you think, man?
I love it. I love it. I need to do something like that for my channel, actually.
So, I use a mix. I use this little free editing software. I've forgotten because I hadn't used it in so long. Called Open Shot Video Editor. I've done a lot of research in the past. I don't know if you have a software that you already use or not, but
yeah, that's been kind of a journey for me, actually. I'm a Mac guy, so I started off using iMovie, and I just about 3 or 4 months ago, after I had a couple of videos go viral, I was like, oh, I need to up my game, so I upgraded to Final Cut Pro, which is So, but
don't write down this little software would be like the iMovie. It's kind of like the Windows Movie Maker. So it's so simple. It's like, cool. You put in a video, you put in a clip, and then you just kind of let it.
Well, I'm glad
very basic.
I'm glad you mentioned it though, because a lot of my students that are kind of starting online businesses, one in particular that's a coach like I am, I'm kind of training him, and he's trying to figure out a free, or simple. So that would be a good recommendation for him.
That's funny, man, because the just in the scheme of learning a software or whatever, I think can be like that's a hindrance for people. Like for you, it's a hindrance. For me, it's a hindrance for like people that we're coaching or talking with or teaching or whatever. Like that, like I have a friend that was talking about starting a podcast recently, and I was like, oh, cool, man. Like, what's the hold up? He's like, nah, he's like, I think I understand the equipment. I got to figure out like the editing part and this. I'm like, man, like let's go. Like you can just, and I also gave him the advice, which I think he actually agreed or had heard this before. I was like, man, don't even tell anyone you have a podcast until you have like, I don't know, 6, 7, 8, 10 episodes, 12 maybe, published in a catalog, public. And then you can promote your podcast.
100% agree. Yeah. I think that's a great approach. That's exactly the way that I teach my students, my online business students, is like, first of all, start before you're ready. I hear Sean Cannell of Think Media saying that. Start before you're ready, because you're never going to be ready. Yeah. It's going to be imperfect. Just start where you are. But you want to have a catalog of content before you start. So then you can start, like with blogging or a YouTube channel. It's like, I recommend having like 10 to 20 pieces of content ready, so that as you start off, you can automatically have at least one piece of content on the regular every week, because as you're building an audience and as you're, trying to fill your funnel for whatever it is that you're trying to do, that consistency is really important.
Totally agree, man. I'm like, my goal, like my personal content for YouTube is like a weekly video. And that's, I would love to over time expand my time and energy put towards that production, just because I enjoy it. It's fun, and as it grows,
Yeah,
it'll make more sense to do so. But like, I think for me, doing more than once a week is tough. Like for me personally, what
totally.
is your like? What's your current?
It's a great question because I'm in the middle of doing a lot of experimentation. I was doing 2 sort of produced videos, and like I said, I had a few months ago, I had a couple of videos go viral, and so I've been trying to really up the production value in terms of using title packages and B-roll and stuff like that. And so now I've gotten to a place where, I'm not a crack editor like you were talking about before. The technological side of this stuff is really, a challenge for me. I'm more, on the I do better with actually thinking about and creating the content. And so I was doing 2 of those kind of videos a week, which would take me, basically a whole day to produce, to write,
Yep.
shoot, and then edit. But I'm in the middle of, or I'm almost finished producing my next course, which is a digital budgeting course that's, basically video based. And that's, as creating courses is kind of an all hands on deck thing. So I've cut back to one video a week, one produced video a week. And then now I'm experimenting with just going live, maybe answering questions from a previous video or talking about a trending topic. Inflation is a big thing right now, with my audience, and just different, answering different questions that they have. So I'm experimenting with that. And then obviously doing collaborative stuff like this,
Yeah.
where it's just kind of opening up, my story, your story, and kind of the amalgamation of those 2 things to where people can walk away with 1 or 2 ideas that they can implement for themselves.
Exactly, exactly. So one of my so I'm gonna try to pull up. This is funny. I forgot I can do this. I'm gonna try to bring in like my screen. Maybe I'll even show your channel and all that. I'm gonna try to figure all that out
Oh, yeah.
while we're
All good.
chatting, man.
Yeah.
What? So if I'm over here typing on my laptop and trying to do all this stuff, I promise I'm not being disrespectful, man. That's what
We're
I'm
not
doing.
ignoring you. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. I'm not ignoring you. I'm trying to remember how to do all this while we're here. Um, but No, man, I was about to respond to something, but then I said that anyways. But okay, so I guess rewind back a little. Oh, I was going to tell people like how we had just kind of synced and had
Yeah,
this
that's great.
specific idea. Like,
Right.
so when we met at FinCon, I just kind of said, hey, like we met at a table about YouTube, is what we were talking about. And in just a second, let's rewind back and tell people a little bit about FinCon. So maybe if someone has never heard of it or they're thinking about it, so don't let me forget that. But we were sitting at a table like literally the last day talking about some YouTube strategy, and I think I was like, hey guys, so I have this idea. Like, what do y'all think? I was like, the idea is like, hey, get channels that are of similar sizes that vibe together to literally do lives together, like do lives on each other's channels so that we can introduce each other and to each other's audiences. We're talking about similar stuff. I was like, what do
Right.
y'all think? And like, you were like, dude, no brainer, great idea. Like, let's connect. And here we are. This is the first one of that, like of that idea. Um,
Yes. So FinCon, for people that don't know, is basically just it's an annual live and now virtual conference. It's kind of they've kind of divided it up where personal finance content creators, YouTubers, bloggers, TikTokers,
yeah,
people that are in the personal finance space or ancillary to the personal finance space can kind of get together to learn some of the best tips and tricks in the industry, how to grow their channels, how to grow their influence, how to use some of the technological tools. There are lots of really great, sort of breakout sessions and roundtable discussions, which, like Brooks was saying, is how we met at a YouTube roundtable discussion and presentation. I think the biggest thing for me, the biggest why for me going to that conference this year was really to network and to connect with people like Brooks, because my platform is at a place where I really need to grow my email list. I have a fairly decent sized YouTube channel. I'm just under 10,000 subscribers right now. And I would say probably, Brooks, you're probably the same as I am. You're not a traditional YouTuber. I'm not trying to be a YouTuber. I just use YouTube as a way to connect with my audience so that I can increase that knowability, likability, and trust factor, uh,
exactly.
to then get them on my email list. And on my email list is where I share regular weekly, bi-weekly content, and then offer them access to my courses, my membership site, and coaching and things like that.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, man, I would agree. I'm definitely, if you ask me, "Hey man, what do you do?" My first answer would definitely not be I'm a YouTuber.
Right.
Although I do have some friends, man, in my town. So I've got little Mobile, Alabama, in my town. I've got a friend that's a gamer. Almost a million subs. He may be at a million
I
subs now.
believe it. Yeah.
Full time, like full time.
Right.
And if you ask him, hey man, like what do you do? He's like, I'm a YouTuber. Like
Right.
I play games and create content, entertaining content. So, um, but so what was your, and this was your first FinCon too, right?
Yes. I was
Yeah,
supposed to go last year, but they had to cancel it because of the cough. So
yeah. The cough.
the cough.
That's the first time I've heard anyone say that.
Really?
Yeah,
Feel free to use it.
yeah,
It's out
yeah.
there. It's out there freely usable.
That
Um,
you just said that publicly, yeah. So we're gonna
yeah.
use that. So yeah. So what was your feedback, or what was your take on the conference, like attending the conference, like if like for someone that's a content creator, out of all that stuff you just mentioned, like what are your thoughts?
I think I mean, I definitely give it an A. I think that one of the things that immediately comes to mind is that if you're doing anything in the online space, it can be a pretty lonely existence just because you're creating content, you're working by yourself. And I'm not naturally an introvert. I think as I'm becoming older, I'm becoming more introverted, but
Oh my
I'm not
gosh.
naturally. I'm much more extroverted, and so
Okay.
I find it I sometimes forget because of most of what I do, creating videos, creating content, interacting with my audience sort of like electronically. So one of the biggest rushes I got out of that was this, oh wow, here are 1500 to 2000 people. I don't know how many people were there. People that I don't have to explain what I'm trying to do. There's an automatic connection where I don't have to explain what an email funnel is. I don't have to explain what a content calendar is. Everybody knows, we all speak a common vocabulary, and we're all also in the personal finance space in some way, shape, or form. So I think just from an encouragement standpoint and a connection standpoint, it really kind of connected with that more extroverted side of me. And then, like I was saying before, one of my primary reasons for going was to network with other content creators, try to get on their platforms, have them on my platform so we can sort of cross pollinate our audiences, connect with some other brands. I think, one of the limitations or areas for improvement with my platform is really, increasing my affiliate marketing footprint,
Yep.
increasing sales in that sense, and finding brands that are really good fit for me and for my audience. And, just going at it from that perspective. So in some ways, I will say the jury's still out, as to the effectiveness of it. Although I have already purchased my ticket for next year, just for the benefits that I've gotten out of it. I actually purchased the Pro Pass, which gives you some like elevated benefits of pro networking and stuff like that. But I feel like the value is completely there. I'm hoping that, just like with any other kind of networking, I've always noticed that there's the kind of like that 80-20 rule. Like you'll connect with people and you'll share information, but a lot of people, only maybe 20% of those people will actually reciprocate and follow up and actually do something. And obviously, Brooks and I are, hopefully a part of that 20%. And so I'm hoping that there's a little bit more elevated percentage of that. So the jury's still out on that piece, but I would absolutely do it again, and we'll do it again if we have the opportunity to do it next year. So
I'm with you.
how about you? Yeah.
I'm with you. Yeah, like agree with what you said. I had a similar experience. Actually, even the introverted thing. That's interesting. I kind of made a hand signal as you were saying that. I'm finding myself also becoming more introverted, and so
Yeah.
that's interesting. And maybe another conversation another time, just to keep. I'm gonna keep that in mind. Yeah, I don't know if that has to do with content creation, the cough, if it has to do with just me as a as just my age. I don't know. But FinCon, I thought was cool. The coolest thing I thought was that in a room, you're sitting around a table and you're just kind of chatting with some people. What I thought was super cool is that one person to your left could be like, "Oh, I'm thinking about starting a YouTube channel. I'm a CPA." You're like, "Oh, cool." The person to your right could say, "Oh, I have a little YouTube channel. It's at, like 500,000 subscribers," and you're like,
Huh?
"Holy smokes! Like
Right.
this is
Really?
crazy,"
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I thought that was cool how it was the mix of all of that just all together in one kind of conference.
Totally agree.
I thought that was cool. I also noticed some of the big brands that came there definitely were there just to like see their friends. And I
Yeah,
thought that
right.
I thought that was kind of cool. And I was like, man, I that would be fun. Like if I continue to come to this event, like cool. Like you're just like it's like a little reunion. You know, you've been grinding doing your thing for the last year and you're excited to come and collaborate and be around people that have become your friends. And so I thought that part was pretty cool about the event.
I totally agree, and I'm glad that you brought that up because that's something that I forgot sort of, and a feature that I did a couple of interviews while I was there at FinCon, and it was really another source of encouragement for me was just how approachable the bigger content creators were. People that I've been following for years, like Talat and Ty, uh, McNeely with his and her money. I mean, they've got over 200,000, YouTube subscribers. I've been following them for years.
Yeah.
And I walked up to them and they actually knew who I was and they were
How
super
cool.
encouraging and it was like, wow, this is amazing. So I just found that, all of these people that I've known about for years and have followed for years, I could just walk up to them and have a conversation with them and even talk about a potential collaboration of some kind. So totally agree with you. It was majorly encouraging from that respect as well.
Totally with you. Actually, and so while you were talking, I just found this photo and like
Oh,
this guy
Jaspreet
who's
Singh.
yeah,
Yeah.
Just Breed, man, who Minority Mindset, who is one of the keynote speakers, right?
Yes,
And
yes.
he's got a media brand, over 1 million subscribers, full-time business. He had his whole team with him. That's funny. They were all from Michigan. It was like 6 or 7 young people. They were like, yeah,
Yeah,
we're the team.
yeah,
And that guy was like, yeah, come and see me, come to my booth. I want to meet everyone. And I watched, man, there were just lines of people just
yeah.
meeting this guy. And he's like, oh, send me. Actually, I sent him an email. He was like, hey, send me an email. I want to connect with YouTubers. And I was like, sure. And he responded like I followed up. I sent him an
Wow,
email like a couple days later. I was like, hey man, if there's ever anything I can do for you, just let me know.
wow.
Love your channel. He said, absolutely, I'll keep that in mind. So I don't know. Like you never know what can come out of like making connections and networking, right?
And
So
that's the beautiful thing about this whole space is that I think the more open-handed you are, and obviously a guy like that gets it because he's
yeah,
got over 1 million subscribers, and yet he's still not, wearing that as sort of like this, oh, I'm so much better than all you guys. It's like exactly the opposite. It's like, hey, how can I help you? How can we collaborate? Whatever.
exactly. I mean, I'm trying to recall his story, but from the keynote I got to hear him, he started literally the same as us, as anyone else that's out there that's maybe has 0 subscribers or 5 subscribers, or maybe you have 10,000. It's like there's always someone ahead of you and always someone behind you, but everyone starts
Totally.
at the same spot. And so he kind of shared his story. It's the same story.
Yeah.
Everyone's
Right.
stories that has a giant brand or a big
Yeah.
channel, like I literally have heard the same story from all of them, unless
Mhm.
they had some crazy like random virality and stuff. And there's that degree of luck as well, right, within your channel. But it doesn't come from not doing anything. It comes from being consistent, doing hard work, putting out content, and then reaping rewards at some point. Like it's
That
I don't know. I love hearing that common thread among any large brand, that like, oh, the
yeah.
story is literally the same.
Yeah, so that means automatically like, hey, it's possible for me if I follow certain principles, if I follow certain behaviors, if I just do what I need to do every day. And the thing is you also don't have to hustle yourself to death because the content that you're putting out there, I mean, I guess depending on how fast you want to grow or how fast you want to learn, but I mean, I think that's why it's really good to for everybody to have some kind of online business no matter what, because I'm sure you'll agree and we'll get into it's great to have and wise to have multiple streams of income. And we all start at the same place, which is zero. And maybe your mom, maybe your wife, maybe it's three of your closest friends are your first subscribers, but then you can grow it and scale it from there.
That's right. That's right. I think like, yeah, for me, I'm definitely looking at I'm gonna call it the YouTube like branch or hub or spoke, I guess, if you will, for
Yeah.
my wheel. Like if you looked at it in a straight line fashion, like people do jobs, like
Yeah.
it clearly would not be worth it, right? And you would be
Right.
frustrated, and that's why I think most people probably quit that get started with
Yes.
anything
Yep.
like a podcast
Yep.
or a blog or a
Totally
YouTube
true.
channel. Most
Yep.
people are going to quit, and it's like I get it. It's because you do a lot of work and you don't see results and you get frustrated.
Yep.
But like and this is I'm sure you can attest to this. Any business person can attest to this. Like traction takes time. It's all about
Does.
like consistent, like long term effort, and like real results start to happen. I've
Yes,
seen
they do.
that. I've seen that so many times in different, projects that I've done. Um, and there's definitely been things that I've stopped for different reasons. But like even in my head though, knowing that like, oh, okay, like if I did choose to keep down this path and growing, like this thing could grow. I mean, it's
Yeah.
when you see thousands of people around you doing, having those results, like it works. So I
You
love
sort
that. I love that
Yeah.
about FinCon. But
Yeah, it's a very it's still a meritocracy in that sense, it's like you can build it. And if you don't mind, I'll totally share, I mean, I started, I'll do this
please
briefly. I won't, you know, uh blather on and on and on
tell
about it.
us who you are, man. Who are
Oh,
you, Brad?
well. All right. Well, my elevator pitch for my brand is I'm Brad with Zero Debt Coach, where we help 5 and 6 figure corporate burnouts escape their nightmare by teaching them how to organize and optimize their finances, obliterate their debt, and move on to financial independence by learning how to invest and how to start an online business. So
Holy
I
smokes!
started this. I started this platform in earnest in May of 2018 as a blog. I did the thing that we talked about earlier. I made sure that I wrote 20 blog posts before I published. So I actually published my first blog post in September of 2018. So I started out as a blogger. I took Ruth Sukup's Elite Blog Academy course, and you just followed to the letter what she taught in there. And so one of the things she teaches is to pick one social media platform and go all in on it. So that was Pinterest for me. And I was doing that and I was getting a little bit of traction, but I just started to see, like, video for, especially for what I do, talking about people's money, getting, building that trust factor and stuff like that. It's much more relatable to do video. So about a year later, I'd built about 1,000 email subscribers up to that point, which was really hard.
Yeah.
It's just exceedingly difficult, I think, in this day and age to build an email list. And then in May, I think it was May of 2019, I started my YouTube channel. Just like everybody else, it was super inconsistent at first. It was super awkward. My first video I hate, but I leave it up just because I want my students to be like, to
Love
go
it.
back and see the imperfection of where I started and be like, hey, you're welcome, right? So fast forward to another 2 years, I had built about 263 YouTube subscribers. And then in March of this year, I had a video finally go viral. And within 3 weeks, I went from 263 subscribers to 5,500 subscribers. And then
Wow.
in another month, I had another viral video after that and went from 5,500 to 8,500 subscribers. And so now I'm close to 10,000. And but it's just like,
Yeah, that's
I only
awesome.
bring that up to buttress what you're saying, Brooks, that it takes time. It's going to take you probably at least a year, 2 years, 3, maybe 5 years to get to the place of revenue generation and profitability that you think you should be after. But the great thing is that each one of these pieces of content that you put out there, they're out there in perpetuity. People are
Exactly.
always going to be discovering something. It's almost like a little salesperson for your brand that you're creating every time you create a piece of content. And once in a while, you'll get, you'll hit the YouTube algorithm like I did. And man, that just exploded things. My email list, I added like another 1,000 about 1,000 email subscribers in the next few months. And so I'm in the scaling phase, which is so encouraging, because when you first start off, and I'm sure you've experienced this too, it's like you're speaking into a void. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody's listening. Probably nobody is listening, but I need to practice and I need to get stuff out there. So that's a little bit of my story and how I
It,
started.
I I love it, man. I wrote down a couple things because I didn't want to necessarily interrupt. So the fact that you leave the old vids up,
Yeah.
old videos is awesome. I love like when I watch my own old stuff, I cringe myself, and I'm like, I would click away from this. Like I
Yeah.
would not watch this content today.
Right.
And one thing I've done or started to do is man, I'm starting to like when I create content, I'm trying to improve upon myself. And like I heard that
Yes.
from someone and I was like, "Oh man, that's actually a great point." Like if my click-through rate is X, I'm trying to increase that click-through rate.
Yes.
If I'm getting X percentage of average view duration or watches on my video, I'm trying to figure out how can I increase that for me. And it's like I always have this overarching goal of just like moving things up and to the right. And that's like one of those up
Yeah.
and to the right examples. And it's like, man,
Totally.
if you're always just aiming for up and to the right to get better and improve, like you're not just improving for you, like you're improving for like YouTube as well. Like YouTube wants to like they want to just give us all this flood of people. Like it totally makes sense to me. But like our job is just to make sure that we're creating good content and it's in line with whatever people want to watch, And so yeah, man, like things as simple like so for me in the last even in the last like 30 to 60 days, a few things that I have been changing on my own channel. I'll name 3 things right now that I've been changing. One, I realized I had tons of like little small dead space in my video that I wasn't editing out. I began to edit that out and I realized, oh, it really helps the video move along. I
Yes.
knew that from watching other people's videos,
Right.
but I wasn't going the extra mile and doing
Right.
those edits. So now I'm like, I go through instead of 1 round of edits and like, let's publish, I go through 3 now.
By the way, I
yeah.
have a tool for that I discovered about 5 months ago. A buddy of mine turned me onto it called timebolt.io.
Okay.
You literally you fly the video into it and it cuts it up for you. And so then you can fly it into your video editor. There's a couple of different file types of it. So I mean, that saves me so much time just using that tool, timebolt.io. And I went ahead and bought like a lifetime license for it because I literally use it for every video, even with interview videos that I record. Just like you said, it's all about dopamine levels with the YouTube audience. So the more you can keep them engaged with those jump cuts in between and B-roll and title packages and, presentation material, it's like we're also addicted to dopamine that we're going to click off. I mean, most people are going to click off if they get bored.
Yep. So a question on that cutting out the time. If you have purposeful time in there, would it also snip that out?
So you can basically, what it does is Timebolt goes in and just slices the time. It slices out the video time, but you can go into your video editor and expand that out if you want that space. If you want that space to be there. So you have the choice of leaving it that way or expanding it out if you choose.
Got it. Okay. And Timebolt it's working within your
No, it's a separate. So what you would do is like when you record the raw footage, you basically fly the raw footage into Timebolt. And maybe when we do, this next week, I'll actually do like a little demo of it.
Okay.
And I'm not affiliated with them or anything like that. Not that would be a sin, but you can basically fly the raw footage in there and then it cuts it up and saves it as a file. Like for me, I use Final Cut Pro, so it saves it as an XML file, and then I import that XML file into Final Cut, and it imports the file all chopped up. And so then I have the if there's one clip that's chopped up and it's a little too short, then I can just take the editor and just pull that out and extend it if I want that space.
Got it. Now that's cool.
Dope.
Yeah, so I feel like those would be things that I'm starting to would be looking to improve efficiencies and stuff. Have you heard of Descript?
No.
So Descript has been, I'm gonna put it in the chat just for everyone, just while I'm remembering. The Script's been kind of blowing up. It's a
I'll put Timebolt in there.
Like what I just did was the
yes.
The Script cuts out all of that automatically with AI, like any like, and then you can even I played around with it. You can even, if you said the wrong thing, you could even change the words in the text, and it uses AI to match your voice and correct the word in the audio.
Oh, wow.
Is that crazy or what?
Yeah, I mean, it's really cool, but it's also a little creepy.
Yeah, I hear you. I totally hear you. Yeah, so I'll say another tool here. Okay, so just let's see before I forget. So one of the things is me looking at that. Another thing I want to point out, because if anyone's growing a YouTube channel, you may be asking the questions like, oh, why aren't I growing or whatever. So when I started looking deeper at analytics, hold on, man. I think I have it on. I think I have it on here. My intro. Oh my gosh, I do. Okay. This is what I was using for I'm gonna call it my YouTube bumper video. So like when I said, hey guys, in this video, whatever, we're gonna talk about this. Okay, we'll get right to it, or comment down below and then we'll get to the video. This is what I played. I
dude.
mean, like, that's the coolest
That
video
is
ever, right?
oh, that is so cool, man.
Okay, so, like, I thought I thought it was cool, and I think it kind of is cool, but one,
It is cool.
I don't know if anyone cares. I don't know if anyone cares, but here's what the analytics showed. What the analytics showed was that, man, I've got like a 30% drop off in
Right,
when that happens. And so that's
right,
either A, people saying, I'm out of here because I'm already bored. I don't like this,
right.
it's too long. Or B, they're like fast forwarding through the video, which is okay. Um, but for my last like dozen videos, I haven't even used anything. And in the future, when I go back to using something like that, I'm going to use something that's 5 seconds or less.
Yeah.
Um,
I
and
think
so
that's
any
the key. Yeah, I
yeah,
think that's the key. I mean, and I'm learning a lot of the same things right now too. I actually cut out. I have a little bumper, and even my elevator pitch. I've just totally cut that out because I want to get to the heart of the matter as quickly as possible for those people that are uh, just starving for dopamine, or at least think they're starving for dopamine.
so that's a funny one there too, man. I need to figure out how to briefly tell people or give people this idea of like, wait a minute, like who is this guy? I'm kind of
Right,
interested. So like
right, right.
I'm totally with you, man. Yeah,
Yeah,
like but we don't need to like have some elongated
right.
hey, make sure you're with me because this is what I'm about and this is who I am and like I think if that
Right.
goes on for more than
Yeah.
like five.
Succinct is the
Yeah,
word, I think.
exactly.
It's all about keeping the flow going, which is exactly what we're talking about.
Exactly. So that's my number two. Before I forget, the third thing that I have been doing, and I'm like, dude, this is starting to get fun. I've kind of masterfully done it. I don't have enough time to have this playing because I need more like views on my videos. But I am now flowing videos into videos where I wasn't doing it before. So also in analytics, I
Okay.
think I talked about this at that YouTube roundtable. At the end of most of my videos, what I was doing was, "Hey guys, thanks so much for watching." Blah blah. I don't know. I
Oh,
started
yes. Right.
saying something like that.
Yeah.
That signals to me, to you, to anyone that like
Click off.
this video's over. I'm either going to eat lunch or I'm watching some other video. I now strategically have no language like that.
Right.
When I now finish whatever I was just saying, I'm like, cool. Next, you need to watch this video about this because we were just talking about it. Blah 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 blah. And I'm putting it on the screen while I'm talking about it. My goal is to obviously get someone to flow into another video. And I know that if I keep doing that strategy and can convert whatever percentage of people that make it to the end of my video to watch another video, I will start seeing YouTube say, "Hey, thank you so much, Brooks Conkle, for doing that. We're
Right.
now going to start doing what I was talking about and opening the spigot a little bit more." So those are
Yeah.
three things.
That's
Brad,
great.
Brad, man, I've made probably, I don't know, well over 200 videos.
Yeah.
Um,
Wow.
and like I'm just like those are three things that I think are huge that I'm just now
Yeah.
realizing, wait a minute, these are super important things that I should be doing. And there's no way I would have known to even start those 100 videos ago. Just it's just
Totally.
like it's an ever evolving like educational hub. Creating content is like this ever
Yeah.
evolving hub where you're continuously learning.
There are no shortcuts. It's like you just have to do it. And I listen to Sean Cannell and the Think Media guys a lot, and I tell my students that are trying to get into this, it's like when you first start off, it's 100 videos. You got to do 100 videos before you're even going to even have any idea of what you're doing. And so that's really a testament to the fact that you've done 200 and you're like, okay, things are really starting to come on now. I'm really starting to know what to look for in the analytics. I also, I know what it is that I need to do in terms of removing dead space, like making my opener and my elevator pitch like super succinct. What do you mean by flowing videos? Oh, flowing videos into videos. You mean like
Yep,
going seamlessly to the, hey, but by the
exactly.
way, if you like this, check this one out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly. The end
Yeah.
screen. Yeah, float
Yeah.
instead of and not using any language that tells you I'm ending a video. You just think I'm
Right.
still talking and I
Right.
am. And then now there's a video on the screen and now I'm talking about this video and like
Right.
and I may not be super specific on the exact video, but I do plan out now
Right.
before I record. I think about, okay, what can this flow into? Oh, okay, it can
Yeah.
flow into like this type of playlist or this maybe this specific video.
Yeah.
And so yeah, and so I've only done that for the last, I don't know, 5 or 6 videos, but I'm pumped, man. I'm pumped to do that for the next 30 videos that I have,
Yeah,
right? To
totally.
see like,
Yeah.
cool, like how does this start to play out? So
Oh, that's awesome. I love that idea because that's something that it's getting the wheels turning for me too. It's like, man, I could totally do that because I have I have pretty, I think close to 200 videos. I'm trailing behind a little bit there, but yeah, I mean, any of those little tips and tricks. I think also one of the things that was helpful, I know we talked about this at the roundtable as well, is that you know, I'm not trying to be a YouTuber. I'm using YouTube for a very specific purpose, but I always want to bump up against that ceiling of what the most optimized YouTubers are doing. And it's exactly stuff like this. But at the end of the day, I really, the objective for me with YouTube is to get that person to download one of my opt-in freebies, or otherwise get on my email list.
yeah.
That's really that's the goal, for me. But
So do you okay, that's a good point. Do you try to get people to do that in every video, or do you just let it
yes.
be standalone okay, so you
No, I
some sort
pitch
of
a
call to
lead.
action.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I pitch a lead magnet in every video. And I
cool.
know that, the YouTuber people would not necessarily recommend that, but again, I'm not trying to be a YouTube star. I'm trying to build a business that is mine, that is drawing people to my platform. So if YouTube goes away at some point, or Facebook, like it went down earlier this week, I'm not building my brand or my business on a social media platform. I'm building my own platform and my own ecosystem that I'm trying to get people into so that I can communicate with them directly. That's my whole strategy.
Smart. No, yeah, I think that's smart, man. I don't build any. So I've just started kind of building I shouldn't say I've just started building an email list. What I should say is I'm just starting to actually get people subscribed to my email list
Yeah.
based on the amount of traffic that I'm getting on my blog. Yeah, I don't know. Like right now I'm between like 4 and 6 a day. So I'm like, okay, in a
Oh,
year, if
that's
that's
great,
if
man.
that's steady and my traffic
That's
stays, yeah, so it's getting serious now, but I'm only at like 200 something, but I'm like, oh, in a year I'll have a lot. So,
Oh,
but
but
on,
especially since you're doing video I have found, like I said, I started off with Pinterest as my, lead generation, and I was getting more traffic per se from Pinterest. I was getting about 30,000 page views per month. And
wow,
once I sort of abandoned that, it cut my page views in half. So I only get about 15,000 hits to my unique hits to my website every month. But my email opt-ins are going way up, and the quality of those emails are much better with video than they were with Pinterest because it's more
interesting,
three-dimensional. Yeah, so I
interesting.
totally interrupted you. You were moving on
No,
to
no,
another
no.
point. Sorry.
No, that's super. It's like you're just making me think that like cool. Like for me, YouTube, I don't at all have like a call to action for that. I mean, if anything, I'm happy to keep people in the YouTube ecosystem for
Yeah,
now. For
yeah.
now, at some
And I
point,
think
maybe
there's a mix. I think there's a
yeah,
mix of that you can do that. But if you go to my website, and you click on there's a free guides icon at the top, it takes you to a list of all the different. I have over 2 dozen like free guides and printables and so what I'm really trying to do with my platform is every video I'm accentuating, hey, by the way, if you think this is helpful, I'm outlining exactly how to do this in my 8 steps if you go to the top there,
yep,
uh,
free
to the
guide,
left. Yep. Yeah,
nice,
you click on that, that'll take you to my free guides and printables page. And so that basically is, and if you scroll down, you'll see all the different free guides and printables that I have.
nice,
And then if you want all of them, you can just subscribe to the library. But
nice,
everything covering any kind of personal finance stuff, including Bitcoin and, budgeting and organization, investing, all that stuff.
that's awesome, man.
So
Yeah,
that's
that's
my
cool.
strategy, is just to get people there.
Yeah, it's cool. And I've got your link like in the YouTube description. I've got your website, but I'll make sure I've got your YouTube channel there too. This is the first time we've done this, so we're figuring this out. But
Yeah, yeah, no,
like
totally.
like you and I are trying to figure out how to cross pollinate, right? So anyone that's on my
That's right.
channel to
That's right.
go find Brad, and then when I connect on Brad, it's like, hey, come check this guy out or whatever. But yeah, so that's our goal, or like ultimately, and then just to have a cool conversation. Yeah, but this is funny because I feel like us chatting Sorry, I heard something crazy. I think my dog was doing something crazy. Yeah, just us having this conversation. I feel like you and I are learning from each other, and then hopefully
Totally. Yeah,
people can
absolutely.
also collect notes and write stuff down, as whoever watches this will get some value from, like, literally two guys that are growing their channels and their brands. So
Absolutely.
um
I'm curious. Go ahead. You were gonna say something.
no, you start, because mine's on paper,
So
so I could easily look at it.
So I'm curious to hear more about your platform, because my audience is very interested, and I promote this all the time, both in my public facing content as well as my membership. I have a private membership, Zero Debt Plus. It's a private coaching community that I have, and one of our big things is side hustles. So I've
Okay.
followed Nick Loper for a long time, and Chris Gillibo, and so I mean one of
Yeah.
the things that I think I was super interested in connecting with you and connecting my audience with your content is because I'm always trying to encourage them to go after those multiple streams of income, not only when they're in the debt elimination phase, but when they're out of that and maybe they're working toward, learning how to invest or financial independence or, something like that. So
Yeah,
yeah, I,
man.
I,
Yeah, so those I'm fans of both of those guys. Chris Gillibo, from a long time back. I actually was he has like a Q&A on Side Hustle School, like a
okay.
brief, like,
Yeah.
7-minute blip on his podcast, and actually he like featured me recently. Like, I shot him a
Nice.
question, and I was asking him,
Congratulations.
my question to him was, hey Chris, what's up, man? But I was like, my question was, should I try to focus on one platform and really strategically grow it, or like multiple platforms all at the same time? And in all honesty, I kind of had my own views or opinions. I just wanted to, like, hear another opinion. And it's like,
Yeah.
that's a way to connect with a busy person and someone that's trying to build their brand, is like,
Right.
do it through their platform and give them content. So anyways, I
Yeah.
thought that was really cool.
Totally.
I read
Totally
a
agree.
he wrote a book a long time ago called The Art of
Of
Nonconformity.
nonconformity. Yep.
That book, like, there's books that I've read in my life where, like, I've read them and I'm like, dude, this is me. Like,
Yeah.
this is how my brain works. Like, this is
Yeah.
how I think. And it's almost like reassuring, because you're
Yes.
definitely, sometimes you're in the minority around you.
Totally.
And so when you can connect with a brand or a person or an entrepreneur, and you're like, oh my gosh, we're similar people. Like, this is awesome. Man, that's been so helpful. That's been so helpful to me. And that's kind of like what we talked about FinCon, about people
Yes.
that get it, that are doing the same thing
Yes.
you're doing. Um,
Love
but
it.
yeah, but my, like, not necessarily my story, but I'm basically like, I'm almost like a full-time side hustler, man. I like,
Yeah.
it's weird. It's weird to say that, but
Yeah.
it's only been the last couple of years that I've been saying that. I probably shouldn't say full-time side hustler, but it's just kind of a witty way to say it, I guess.
Totally. Yeah.
When
Mo
when you say side hustle, like, people have all kinds of different connotations on, like, on what that means. Like, am you know am I an Uber driver? Am I delivering? Am I walking dogs? I mean, like,
Yeah.
maybe, like,
Yeah.
yeah, like, that's a side hustle. But am I also talking about creating a blog business for a long-term content strategy to pay you over time? Yeah, I mean, that, like to me, that's also in my, like, side hustle category.
Yes.
Um, so I guess I should start there, right? Because people, like, side hustle doesn't necessarily mean easy and instant income.
Right.
For me, you know what I mean?
Yes.
I guess I should just stick with calling it, building streams of income, whether it's like
Sure.
grit and hard work, or whether it's flipping a mirror. Okay, all right, now I gotta show you this, or whether it's flipping a mirror, dude. I'm so pumped about this. I told you about this last time, but I'm gonna show you some real pictures. So sometimes it actually is just creating quick cash, man, right? Like, that
Right.
that can be a real side hustle. So, okay, wife and I are on a walk, as we do often, probably at least once a week. We go on a little walk, like 2 blocks from where we live, or not far at all. I see this, man, pile of
Oh,
trash
yes. Right.
with these 2 mirrors on it. Okay, there's these 2 mirrors, and I'm like, babe, like, these are, like, this is crazy. I was like, babe, I'm about to take these mirrors. Like, we're gonna sell these. Like, these are literally $50 a piece or $60 a piece, like, all day long. She was like, "What, really?" I was like, "Yeah, 100%." I was like, any other day I could like, yeah, you could just easily walk by and be like, "Ah, it's a pain. It's a lot of
Yes.
work."
Right.
But I stopped and thought about it. I was like, we are not going to have an hour's worth of work in this, and we're going to sell both of these mirrors for $100. In fact, okay, so I grab them, I carry them all the way back to our place. I even she actually even like on the way back was like, "Hey, like I might even keep one of these. Like we have this other property where maybe we could use it." I was like, "Hey, if you want to, that's fine. Like that's saving
It's
50
free.
bucks. Like it's all the
Right.
same, you know? Like it's all the
Right.
same to me." She was like, "Nah, I'll just sell them." Brad, dude, in 24 hours, literally the next day, I was like, "Hey, like where are those mirrors?" She's like, oh, I sold them. Like they're gone." So she just like, set them up, took pictures, Facebook Marketplace, sold them to a lady for $100. Lady came in, just snagged them from us. And it was less than an hour. I'm like, dude, that's
Unbelievable. Yeah.
$200 an hour pay rate. Um, and I don't know,
Yeah.
man. Like, I don't do that all the time, that
Sure.
type of stuff, because it does
Right.
take time, right?
Yes.
You're trading time for dollars.
Mhm.
But sometimes I'm like, man, especially if you're grabbing something that is zero cost, you're only investing time in it. Like there was like zero risk in me for that, right? There's zero
Right.
risk, and
Yeah.
we made $100 cash. So like, man, I think people just have to be willing to, uh, like, one, maybe not be too proud, two, just be open to being creative and seeing
Yes.
what's around you, you know.
I agree.
Um,
It's a mindset thing, and this is precisely what we try to coach our students toward is this, like you're saying, diversification of income streams. If you have, it's my personal belief, if you just have your job as your solo source of income, like we saw last year and we're seeing with, mandates and stuff, like people are losing their jobs for whatever reason. And it's like, if you're in that position and you don't have a job and that was your only source of income, you're hosed, And so I think it's becoming ever more important for people to have those multiple streams of income. So it's a mindset thing, and it's also a creativity thing. Like you looked at that and you're like, hey, all right, let me just think through this for a minute, and it gets us out of the consumerist mentality that we're all sort of trapped in, and which is something I had to go through when I went through, eliminating $174,000 worth of debt over a
Dang.
decade ago. It's like I had to change my mindset from being this typical average consumer that just solves every problem with money, using money, whether it's mine or borrowed or whatever, to like, hey, no, I need to try to be a little bit more creative about solving this problem because money is maybe not always the answer. And so that's precisely, I mean, you're exemplifying exactly what we love trying to teach our students. So
Oh, that's cool. Well, that's good.
yes,
I'm glad I'm not going against the grain
no,
of what you guys are
in
teaching.
no way, shape, or form. No, that's exactly, I mean, that's exactly what we'd want to see.
I I will say the amount the amount of diversification we have is like a little bit too much. And like at a point probably a year and a half ago, I was like, okay, we need to let's trim off the outer edges. And I'm trying to focus more and more on like core things that I want to focus on, right? Like
Right.
one of those being my personal brand, like my
Yeah.
website, YouTube. Like I'm trying to double down on building that brand. But during when the pandemic started, so one of the things that we do, well, we do a bunch of stuff, but I can tell you a few of the things that got hit hard. And I was very grateful that we had a bunch of streams of income to be able to like focus time and energy and effort in different places. So one of the brands we have is a local media company called the Mobile Rundown. And what we do is we promote events that are happening. People advertise their events with us. We also produce events, and we were wanting to produce like 4 large scale events in a year.
Mm.
Um, I was in the middle of planning one of these large scale events. We were marketing for ticket sales. And when the pandemic, officially struck the United States, and we delayed. We also had at the time two or three Airbnb units that
Oh,
went to zero. Everything canceled.
uh,
Every stay canceled in these units, and we went from like
oh no.
whatever amount of booked income to $0 of booked income.
Wow.
and we didn't know like how long that was going to last. We
Wow.
were like, oh my gosh, like are we about to be out of business, or like what's going on
Right.
here? So that that was the time where I realized, you know what? People sometimes tell me that I'm stretched too thin or I have too much going on, but I was like, you know what? I just shifted my focus, man. My energy and focus just shifted exactly towards what I could do and what I
Mhm.
could generate and create income from.
Right.
And I just let the other things kind of go. So because I didn't have all my eggs in the event production basket, I was
Right.
able, man, to say, okay, uh, that's frustrating, but okay, I'm scratching that. Like I'm not going to produce that again, and I'm going to put my time and energy towards one of my other projects.
Right.
Um, Airbnb, after a month and a half, it started rebounding, and then it actually went through this little glorious, like everyone wanted to get the heck out of where they were and go work remotely. So we actually hit a boom phase like a few months after
Revenge
that.
travel, I think is what they were calling that.
Revenge travel. Oh, that's
Yeah.
good, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, like, so that was kind of crazy, but like, um, yeah, that I will say is something I didn't know was a benefit of multiple streams of income. I never saw it as like diversification. I kind of just
Right.
saw it
Right.
as
Yeah.
I just saw it as necessity, because of like a lot of what I'd done in the past was real estate, and that's all like that's not a W-2 wage income. It's
Right.
like I was making chunks of cash. So I call that like a hustle, right? Like that's a
Yeah.
hustle. Even if
Right.
it's a ton of money, it's still a hustle. And so I had just been set up to do all these multiple projects. And but yeah, so I had the realization that, oh my gosh, I'm very grateful that I have all these income streams. Man, it actually gets kind of crazy. Like I wrote a blog post about it. I guess I'll throw it in the comments or something.
Yeah, please
So
do. Yeah, I'd love to see it.
here I was thinking like, oh man, maybe I have a handful of income streams. Uh, like now, granted, if I said real estate was one income stream, it would totally lower it. But man, there's like 19 different income streams.
What?
It's insane.
19? Yeah, I'd love it.
So
I'd love to read that. Yeah,
so it's
9.
like single family rentals, Airbnb units, renovation flips, real estate commissions, wholesaling properties, real estate valuations. Now, granted, all those are different sectors under the real estate umbrella, but
Sure.
they're all their own projects and separate things. Yeah, affiliate income, Google AdSense, which is now Ezoic for me. Course sales, which is very small, but it doesn't matter. Like, and I tell people in this article, I'm like, hey, look, like, some of these I make a lot, some of these I make very little.
Right.
And like the whole point's not to be like an income report or anything like that, but just to tell people, like,
Mhm.
show people what's possible.
Totally. Yeah.
I've gotten sponsors on my YouTube channel. Like, so I'm not even
Wow.
approved for AdSense, but I've gotten like sponsorships on making videos before.
That's awesome, man.
Flipping stuff, of course, selling stuff
Yeah, yeah.
on Facebook and eBay. Anyway, so it goes on and on. Print ad sales, credit card offers, which you and I don't know. I don't know. Personally, I count that as income. Some people would say like, no, it's
Oh,
absolutely
yeah,
not.
totally,
I'm
yeah.
cool either way.
Oh,
Like,
yeah, we've saved tens of thousands of dollars on air travel back and forth to South America over the past decade, using airline miles and points and cashback, so we're on board with travel hacking for sure.
Totally, man. I had I was this article led to me actually being like having an article written about me in Business Insider. So they wrote an
Oh,
article
fantastic.
and linked to me about this. I included my five favorites.
Uh-huh.
One of my five favorites was the credit card income. I was like, it's not about which one's the most. I just said these are my five favorite. The editor refused to let it in there. She said, this is not, it's not income. I said, well, like, I would argue that it is, because if I use my debit card, I make
Right.
$0. When I use
Yeah.
my credit card and I pay it in full and I have no interest, I
You're
auto pay it.
harvesting
Like,
yeah, you're just
I'm
harvesting cash that you're using for, I mean, it's like
yeah.
legal money laundering
No,
in some ways. Right.
no dice, man. She did not. And she cut
She
it.
wasn't having it.
She was not having it. She cut it out of the article, which I mean, like, I can't argue with the editor for the
Right,
article, right?
right.
So, but I said, okay, no problem. But personally, I think it is income,
I
So,
totally agree. Yeah,
yeah.
we do really well with points and miles and cash back as well.
Now, I will say this: you you were talking about a brand earlier called Cube Money. You mentioned that
Yeah.
earlier. Actually, and did you get to meet the like the owner at FinCon? Did you get to talk with
I
those guys?
No, I met one of the ladies on their team, and
Yeah.
I signed up to possibly become an affiliate or whatever. I just need to learn more about the platform. I usually, preach YNAB to my audience,
Okay.
and so I'm kinda sold out for them right now, but, I'm definitely open to looking at other platforms.
Oh, you're like our buddy Nick True. Nick True's like
Yeah.
YNAB,
Oh, yeah.
YNAB all in, man.
Yeah, Nick's content, I actually point a lot of my students to his YNAB, tutorials.
Oh,
So,
nice.
yeah.
I'm sure Nick would love that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So that Cube Money was interesting to me. So just whoever's listening, when you listen to this, Cube Money is almost like the date. This is how I'm gonna describe it. I'm gonna describe it as the Dave Ramsey envelope method,
Okay.
where you segment the amount of cash for each item that you are going to spend on groceries, whatever, except it's not real cash in an envelope. It's a digital envelope. And then
Yep.
when you go to spend that money, it basically takes it out of that digital envelope. That's kind of how
Yep.
I'm going to describe it. Is that pretty accurate? Do you
I
think?
think so. I haven't really poked around, in
Yeah.
the Cube app yet, but, YNAB has a similar feature. They do call their, the carryover for the budgeting categories, sort of a digital envelope, and that's precisely the way I teach my students to use it. So
Got
I
it.
really like that idea because a lot of people, one of the things like with teaching budgeting is you're trying to get people out of that month to month or paycheck to paycheck mentality.
Yeah.
And so we try to get them to start overfunding certain budget categories, especially that fluctuate so that they have, like the electric bill, it's going to be higher in the summer. Well, why don't you just, kind of start budgeting every month so you've got a little bit of leftover? And so a tool like Cube or YNAB, or even, even just an Excel or a Google Sheet, you can set that up
How
as well.
how in YNAB or a Google Sheet could it actually have a budget? I mean, it's not like real dollars allocated, right? It's just like for example, if I set up a Google spreadsheet, I would just say, here's my budget for that. But there's no
Yes,
like there's no cash. I still have to be accountable to that money being allocated to that
exactly.
line item, right? Okay.
Yeah. So the way that we set it up, the way to think about it is very much the way YNAB sets it up is you have a budgeted amount, which is what you're planning to spend, the actual amount, which is what you plan to spend minus what you actually spend, and then the carryover, that's really the digital envelope. And that's really what's going to tell you like, all right, well, I have in the budgeted, if I budget $200 for, the grocery category, it's going to show $200 in the carryover category. So that's the envelope. And then as you start subtracting that during the month, it's going to tell you what's left in that envelope.
Interesting. So,
Yeah.
okay, but YNAB is not actually an account that's touching your money, though, right? You just know
No.
that this is what I have left.
Yeah, you
Okay.
can connect it with your accounts. I don't
Okay.
recommend using it that way because of so many of the people that we're coaching, we're trying to get them out of automation. They do
Got it.
not need to do automation because so we're trying to get them to like basically just set it up to where they're doing everything manually because
Got it.
that's what's going to get them the most in touch with their money.
So, that's an interesting point because that's something that I sometimes question on my own finances. Right? It's like you set up this perfect flow of money and everything's just like flowing in
Right.
and out, and you're like, dude, what's even happening? Like, this is
Right.
crazy,
Yeah.
And it's almost like maybe you forget items or whatever. So related to that in Cube, so when I got to meet one of the owners or whatever of Cube, and what he said was, I just told him, I said, well, like, I was like, I'll be honest with you, man. I'm kind of I'm a big fan of like using my credit card, set it on auto pay, no interest, and like make money from that because Cube costs a little bit of money. It's like,
Okay.
I don't know. I think it's like $7 or $8 a month or something to
Okay.
use the their abilities. And I was just like, yeah, and he brought up a good point. He's like, yeah, there's studies that say even if that's what you do with your credit card, that people will spend more.
Yeah.
And he had some stats. I don't know how to back those up, but he was like, yeah, that they'll spend X amount more potentially because they're actually psyched in their brain to think like, oh, I'm rewarded from
Yeah.
spending because I get
Right.
points back.
Yep.
I would like to think that I don't do that, but I don't.
I
But I don't know, man. I mean,
I
like maybe I
I
do
think
spend
that's a
more.
Yeah, I think what you could do is just do an analysis over the next couple of months of, what you're actually spending. I mean, and that's another element that we really talk about, diligent expense tracking. I mean, there are three elements to budgeting: organization, the budgeting itself, and then the expense tracking piece, which is really the teeth of everything. I tend to think you're probably like my wife and I are, in that we don't overspend because we know exactly where our money is going and we know what's in every category, and we're dedicated to gamifying that to, constrain to a certain degree. I mean, we've loosened the belt since we've reached a certain level of financial independence, particularly on eating out, because it's something that we really enjoy.
Hmm.
But I think once you've reached a certain level of financial responsibility, I don't think that statistic really applies to you. It certainly doesn't apply to us. So I think it's just that awareness of what's going out and how that's reconciling with everything. But for the average person, 78% of the population lives paycheck to paycheck. So most of the people that are probably a part of that statistic are part of, the 78% statistic as well.
Yeah, yeah. No, that makes sense. That makes sense. Oh my gosh, man. I feel like this is really funny. I feel like I didn't even get to one of the official items that was on my list. Not that it
Really?
matters. Well,
Yeah.
but I'll say that we kind of talked about a lot of this stuff, right? So
Yeah.
side hustles. What are your thoughts on credit cards? Which actually we kind of talked about that. So we talked about
Mhm.
FinCon. I had a few other ones, and maybe what we can do is do this on a future. So I
Yes.
had I had a Turo. Do you know Turo, the car rental service?
Yeah, yeah,
Have
okay,
you
I've
heard of
heard
it?
of them. Yeah.
It's kind of like Airbnb for cars. Like
Okay.
they've kind of gotten bigger and they've kind of blown up, dude. I had my first rental.
Oh,
I
cool.
rented my car out because I'm like, one, I want to see, is this a good idea for me? And
Right.
if it's
Yeah,
not a good idea for me, at least it's like content that I can create and like tell people about my
totally.
experience.
Yes.
Um, Kind of interesting fiasco there. Yeah, I'm not even gonna. Yeah. Anyways, it's its own story, but
Well, dude, I mean,
maybe it's a future.
you got the hook in me, man. You can't. I got
No,
a
no,
long.
man, no, man. Maybe that's where we end the call, and then
Okay.
like
All
we
right.
say
Yes,
maybe we save that one for a future
dude. I
deal.
love it.
So.
I love it. Yes.
Well, we just kind of wrapped up, man, on like just at an hour. So let's end it here. I've loved connecting with you. Clearly we're gonna do this again because
Yes.
there's
Absolutely.
just a lot more to talk about.
Yes.
So yeah, so I'll play this little outro video and then we can catch up. We can catch up
Sounds
in
good.
just a second, okay?
And enjoyed it, Brooks.
All right, Brad. All right, man. Talk soon. Hey guys, thanks for hanging out with us. We'd love for you to share it, maybe with a friend, review it, and don't hesitate to reach out and say hello. You can connect with us and see the resources that we talk about at destroytheboxwith.us. That's www.destroytheboxwith.us. See ya.